Hey guys, today I'm going to do a video where I talk general about time-lapse photography. I'm going to show you my setup here, I'm going to show you some new gear I've got, and I'm also going to talk about my next big project which I have here, and give you a sneak peek of that. But first and foremost, I'm going to do a Q&A which I announced in my last video, where I said that you could comment on that video asking me any questions you have about time-lapse photography or anything else for that matter. I have collected the ones I thought is most interesting here. There were many very similar questions, and I'm trying not to do too much of overlapping here. The one question I got the most, which also a guy named Meh asked, how did you do the pan and tilt without a motorized head? Did you do it in post? And that's right, I did it in post. And what you do is you go into Premiere or Final Cut or whatever post-processing editor you are using, and you do a quick keyframe animation, and it's really simple. Just go Google keyframe position or keyframe scale or keyframe rotation on Google or YouTube, and you will find several tutorials. It's very quick, very simple. And it's something you should know when you're doing time-lapse photography. I also got a lot of questions if I could do what I did in my last video on a phone. In my last video I used this Panasonic Leica camera, which is relatively speaking cheap when you're talking about time-lapse gear. I don't have a phone that's properly working. I have an iPhone 6, which is, the battery is so bad that I can't do anything with it. It would be interesting to try it. I don't know if I will, but I will try to maybe make that happen. But I'm not sure yet. Elias Baltushin is asking what settings I'm using when shooting time-lapse, and it could be anything. I try to keep a long shutter speed if I'm close to, for example, the water. If I'm on top of a mountain, it doesn't really matter that much. And I shoot a lot in aperture priority mode, which might be surprising for many people because they think they have to shoot in manual mode. And I also got a question from Morten, my name brother, Morten Hatchenberg, which is asking the same question about sunrise and sunset time lapses. And over the past year, I've done pretty much all my sunset and sunrise time lapses in aperture priority mode, which is working great for me, especially on the Sony cameras. They have a great kind of metering system, which is much smoother than the ones I've used on the Canon. So it turns out just to be much easier to aperture priority mode. You can also do manual mode and do it, change the settings manually and do it in post to smooth it out. That's a good solution too. It takes a bit longer time, and if you have a camera that's a bit more like flickering and not so smooth, that might be the best solution. Phoenix is asking, where do I get my music from? And for my big projects like these, I get it specially composed by a friend of mine called Guide. You should check him out. He's a great composer. He's currently sitting composing for my new project here. I like to get it composed that way because it can be much more customized. A lot of people have friends that likes to do music as a hobby. Maybe ask them if they can help you out. If you're doing bigger project, you might consider paying people to do it. Otherwise, there are a few sites that's good. MusicBed is a famous one. Audio Jungle is one I used when I was like in the beginning stages of my time-lapse career, because it was like $20 for a song. Not the best songs, but they work. I think you have something called Music Wine, which is good. I'm currently subscribing on artlist.io, which is $200 a year, and you can use however much of the music you want in their catalog for any kind of projects, which is a great deal. Their music is pretty good. It's a bit difficult to find the music. It's badly organized, but sometimes you find some really cool stuff there. and a lot of crap too. From Nova Tech, he's asking, do you use the Sony Time-Lapse app on your A7R II when making your time lapses, or do you just use video or something else? I'm using the Sony Time-Lapse app on my A7R II and the A7S. It's an app which it's built. You have to pay like $10 or something for it, which is stupid, I think, because the app is really bad. It's super slow, and it's not particularly good. I think the app which is inside this one is a whole lot better. It's so much quicker and easier to use. So for my Sony cameras, I've actually considered buying an external intervalometer, just because the time-lapse app is too slow. And sometimes when you're doing time-lapse, you're in a hurry, so you don't have time to wait for it to load and all that. So for my Leica camera, a lot of people asking if I were using an internal intervalometer or an external intervalometer. This has built in, so that's really good. And a lot of new cameras have that, except I think Canon for some reason is not letting you do time-lapse without an intervalometer, which I don't know why they do that, but it's Canon, you know. Eirik Torenfeld is asking, which editing software are you using? I got several other questions about that too. My workflow is importing from the camera into Lightroom, then working with Lightroom and LR time-lapse to do ramping and deflickering and all that. Exporting from Lightroom to JPEG images, and then importing that into Premiere, where I'm kind of, collecting all the different clips and making the final video. And I often use After Effects too, if there are some more specific problems with the clip, some masking or if we're removing something that comes into the image, I use After Effects just to get it as smooth and nice as possible. Oleg Kaplan is asking, how long was each segment in real time? And that ranges from everything from 10 minutes to, I usually don't do much more than like 5 hours. Like this one is a pretty long one, which was probably like 7 hours. Is one of my longer one. When you're doing like star time lapses or the sun, you can get that long, but usually I'm around like 30 minutes, not much longer than that. Blue Shot Media is asking, could you do a complete editing and setup video? I'm not sure. Maybe. Demi Lee Freeman is asking, can you make a good scenic time-lapse with a Canon 60D and an 18 to 55mm lens? Absolutely, of course. I think my last video was pretty scenic, and it was with this one, which will give you a lot worse image quality than with the 60D. My Norway video was shot on the 70D, which is not much better than the 60D. So Stephen Carter is asking, what software would you recommend if you didn't have access to Adobe stuff or don't want to use Adobe software? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm kind of entirely dependent on Adobe. For me, a necessity to have LR time-lapse, and it's working with Lightroom, so I need Lightroom. So I don't have any experience with other kind of softwares than that. NDC Bull is asking, how old are you now and when did you start taking photography films seriously? I'm 23 now. I just turned 23. I started taking photography seriously probably when I made my Norway time-lapse. I was 20 at that time, I think. So basically, I had made a little bit of money from time-lapse photography before, and I've saved up all that money, which wasn't a whole lot, and I spent everything in this one Norway project, which fortunately went very well. I was still in university at the time studying business management in England. I released that in October. It went viral. I went back to England, finished my bachelor degree, then went back, and I had, fortunately, a job here waiting for me in the film industry, which I'm still working at. I was quite lucky that way. Jose Rios Obreki is asking, how can you get money from landscape photography, and is it possible to live from landscape photography? And for me, it's possible. I'm not doing landscape photography, I'm doing time-lapse landscape photography, which is a little bit of a different genre. I think there's a lot more competition in the just pure still landscape photography genre. A lot of people wanting to do that, and a lot of people giving away things for free. Time-lapse photography for me is a little bit more exclusive. There's not as many people on a very high level, but because it requires a lot of time, and you need to be very dedicated to be making a living out of time-lapse photography. But it is possible, but it's very, very difficult. Gabo Enso is asking, I think this will be probably my last question. Is it necessary to have a camera capable of recording 4K video to do a 4K time-lapse? No, it's not, because you're only using still photos. So 4K is just 8 megapixels, but because of the aspect ratios, you would need something like a 12 megapixel camera and above, and you could do 4K time-lapses, which, I mean, every single camera nowadays shoots more than 12 megapixels, so that's all right. One last comment here. Hast saying, I'm French, I don't understand when you talk. I'm sorry, I put on my French sweater for you. Je ne parle pas français très bien, so I have to speak English. Sorry. So that was the most interesting and common questions. I hope you got some of yours answered, if there were anything you were wondering about. I know I could have gone a lot deeper into these questions, but it would take a lot of time, and I want to show you some other stuff as well. So this is actually my apartment now. I moved this from the office and into my apartment. This is a Mac Pro with two Apple Cinema displays, and this is my personal computer, iMac 5K, which is my favorite to edit on because the screen is so amazing. Especially when you're editing 4K video, you can see every single pixel. I also got some new stuff. One of my previous videos, what's in my camera bag, I showed you what I was primarily using, which was an iFootage rig at the time. Now I kind of switched to fully using Syrp gear. You put this on a slider and you get the tracking motion. You have this which gives you the panning motion, and this which does the tilt. So that way you get all the motions you need. And it's super lightweight. Maybe the most important thing for me is that it's super quick to set up. It takes about 1 minute to get this all sorted with cables and everything. And especially for me, which is doing a lot of landscape stuff where I travel and hike up into the mountains, I need lightweight stuff, and this is definitely the best solution for me. Another thing from Syrp, which I got, is a super cool thing, which is the Slingshot. And if you follow me on Instagram, you might see a teaser on that. It's a cable cam system for time-lapse photography, which suits in this small backpack, which is really, really lightweight and compact. And basically it's a full cable cam system, which goes up to, you can get it up to 100 meters long. And it's super easy to set up and use, and I think Syrp is making a tutorial with me on that one, which will be coming out soon, so you'll be learning how to use it. It's a very interesting tool, and you can create time lapses which you kind of never really thought about before was even possible. Those long hyperlapse shots over rivers and that kind of stuff. So really cool. The last thing I want to talk about is my new project, which I'm working on. Many of you have probably noticed this already, but throughout 2016, I've been traveling almost like constantly around Norway, capturing the most beautiful places you can imagine. It's a project which will show Norway throughout the whole year, through every season. It will be a much more complex, a much better, I hope, film than my previous work, and also it will take, hopefully, the time-lapse genre a bit further, because in my opinion it's been stuck a little bit, especially the landscape time-lapses has been, they are all very similar. So I hope this will be a bit new, a bit different. It has a different visual style. I've shot a lot on like 85mm lenses, and a lot of it is very zoomed in, and it's not only those grand wide angle landscape shots that we're so used to seeing in time-lapse. It's a bit different. So it will hopefully be finished by January. I hope you'll like it. It means a lot to me, this project. I worked so hard on it, so I hope you will appreciate what I've done, and to share it whenever it comes out, and spread the word. But that will be about 2 months from now, January 2017. I still have quite a lot to do here with the editing and rendering and all. It takes a lot of time. And anyway, I've been rambling on too much now. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.